In the last episode, I spoke about how I channeled Mary Magdalene in a pendulum reading. I asked her, what is this mysterious knowledge that is going to be discovered and revealed this year that will change the way we look at our past, present, and future? And if you haven't seen that video yet, I highly recommend you start there and then come on back to continue the story. Okay, now the next group of words is where it starts to get really interesting. What came through was computer, worthy, Anunnaki, and rebellion. But first of all, I just want to focus in on the word Anunnaki, because at the time I didn't really know what this meant. Okay, so let's see what I found out about the Anunnaki. Now, there are so many great videos on YouTube about this fascinating topic. I highly recommend going and checking it out because I can barely scratch the surface here today with what I'm about to tell you, but it is a really fascinating researching rabbit hole to go down. So what I found was that basically the knowledge we have about the Anunnaki comes from translations of ancient Mesopotamian clay tablets. And these are discovered primarily in the regions that we know as the present day Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Syria, and Kuwait, which is also an area known to be the cradle of early human civilization. In these tablets, there were many fascinating accounts describing the Anunnaki as powerful beings who came from a planet called Nibiru. And they traveled to Earth in search of gold that they desperately needed in order to save their dying planet. According to these tablets, the Anunnaki needed workers to mine this gold for them. But roaming the planet at the time were the very primitive beings that we know as the hominins, who are not very good workers. So they decided to create a new race of beings that were intelligent enough to do the work they needed, mine the gold, but not too intelligent that they would rebel against them. So they decided to combine their own genes, the Anunnaki gene, with the hominins and create a hybrid species of workers known as the humans. And what I find especially fascinating is how the Anunnaki story really bridges the gap that we currently have. That's the missing piece of the puzzle, that we have science on the one hand saying that we evolved from monkeys into hominins, then into humans. And then we've got religion saying we came from Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And then along comes this story of the Anunnaki, and it really starts to all fall into place. Because the ancient tablets say that Adam and Eve were the first hybrid beings who were a combination of the hominins and the Anunnaki. So we could say, from this perspective, we could imagine the Garden of Eden wasn't simply a peaceful paradise, but a highly advanced biological testing ground, a place of genetic cloning and experimentation involving not only humans, but plants and animals and insects, all designed for life on Earth. Now, the tricky part is that the Anunnaki were not gods. They were definitely beings from a higher dimension. But to the humans, they would have appeared like gods because they had the intelligence, the knowledge, and the technology capable of creating life itself. So humans looked up to the Anunnaki like gods. And the Anunnaki, they went along with the story because it really suited what they needed from humans on Earth at the time. Okay, could this be that these words in this combination are pointing towards the fact that we are on the brink of discovering an ancient technology that has been hidden from us all of this time? And when this is revealed, when this is uncovered, it's going to bring about a global rebellion. A rebellion against a system that tries to control and suppress us. And we say we are no longer feeding into this story that we are here to be your working human slaves. It is time for the rebellion. Okay, I just want to stop there for a minute because I've got an idea. Now, if we have a look at the Anunnaki story, and how they created humans to be their own personal workers here on Earth. And even though the Anunnaki beings are not walking amongst us today, well, not that we know of anyway, this concept of humans being the working slaves and having the working slave gene inside us, and also the systems in place that make us feel like there is no other choice but to be the human working slave, those systems and that concept is still very much firmly set in place. And I saw in an interview the other day that over 78% of humans on this planet hate their job. And that is a huge amount of people. If we look at like when we start employment at the age of 21, and then we would retire at the age of 67, and then you divide your life into 3 parts where there is time at work and then time commuting in between and getting ready and sleeping. And then there's a small amount of time that you have actually living your life on the weekends or on holidays. And this is based on just the average working hours in Europe. But if you look at some of the countries in the rest of the world and how much of their life they dedicated to jobs that they generally don't like, it seems like this Anunnaki concept of the reason why we were created is still very much firmly in place. And if you think that the Anunnaki could possibly still have their fingers controlling their little puppets somehow, well, it seems like, yeah, it looks like it. But now, with AI and mass unemployment on our horizon, and humans being displaced on a global scale from their jobs, and being like, what are we going to do next? Because do humans know how to exist without a job? If we were created as workers, then what are we without work? So maybe this is the rebellion. Maybe this is the time that we step out of the story that we were created as working slaves and become independent, creative beings with our own autonomy over our life to do what we want with our free time, to be able to stop and slow down and regulate our nervous systems to a point where we can bring some of our other abilities online, our psychic and clairvoyant abilities, our ability to create and work hand in hand with AI to really do amazing things to heal our planet and to heal the humans that live within it. And that's not all of it. There's more, because recently I had a powerful remote viewing session where I remote viewed what was like the clash of the titans. It was thunder and lightning. There were nuclear weapons. And at the heart of it, there was the sacred feminine, and she had such a profound message that I cannot wait to share with you on the next adventure in the next video. See you then.